My wife and my children were an inspiration to me, my parents as well. They all have helped guide the decisions in my life, and those decisions have brought us to where we are today as a family.
My grandma inspired me to do this talk. Our relationship was so close, and I felt like it would honor her by just doing this talk.
Okay, the inspiration for my presentation was my band teacher. He was a great influence on my life because he was very insistent upon perfection. He wanted us to make sure that we were not only doing the very best that we could, but we were doing what we needed to do to be successful.
This talk is important to me because during it I share some difficult experiences in my life, experiences that helped shape us as a family, who we are. And sharing these experiences brings up some difficult emotions as well. Sharing these experiences also helps me realize that there are people and influences in my life that I am so grateful for.
My grandma recently passed, so I felt like it would give me closure just talking about her.
So this talk is really important to me because I see so many people who don't put their best effort in, and they really get shortchanged. I wanted to just let people know what the things were in my life that helped me to become the kind of person I am and the kind of influences that I had in my life.
I hope people realize that despite the best laid plans, life can take us to places that we didn't expect to be. We might find ourselves in a spot and say, what's going on? How did I get here? As we're careful, as we're mindful in our decisions, that we'll get to a place that is real, that is fulfilling, and is the right place that we need to be.
What I hope people get from this talk is just a view of family dynamics are different in different cultures. Family is not one size fits all. Every family is different, no one's the same.
I'm hoping that my talk can be a voice of encouragement to someone whose life hasn't gone as they planned, and that they can recognize that there is always a direction. By doing whatever they need to do, they can move forward and they can have a fulfilling life.
Good evening, and welcome to Ripple Effect. My name is Don Levitt, and it is my honor to serve as your host. We hope you enjoy your time with us this evening, and thank you very much for joining us. Just as a quick reminder, we would ask you before the presentation start to silence your phones as a courtesy to the presenters. Ripple Effect is all about celebrating stories, which is why I love this event so much. I love stories and the power they have to inspire us and to connect us. A good story allows us to see into the heart and the mind of the storyteller. Harper Lee famously wrote in To Kill a Mockingbird that you never really understand a person until you consider things from his point of view, until you climb into his skin and walk around in it. That is the essence of storytelling. It is an invitation from the storyteller to climb into their skin and see the world from their perspective. As human beings, we are hardwired for telling stories. And storytelling is a uniquely human experience. From the moment the first humans found their voices, we have been telling stories. Early humans used stories as a way to convey information necessary for survival and to make sense of the world around them through myth building and the creation of legends. Through storytelling, they created culture and tradition. And because storytelling is a social activity, it enabled them to establish community and connection and a sense of belonging. As humans evolved, they discovered the power of stories in teaching and learning. Stories conveyed information, yes, but they were also an effective way to remember information. Stories allow us to share values, to illustrate lessons, and to pass information on from one generation to the next. Stories became a way to protect our history, to understand our present, and to dream about the future. And as such, they became a powerful link between the past and all that is yet to come. Finally, stories are wildly entertaining. Few things are as enjoyable as a great story. There is something so gratifying about a story that sucks you in, that captures your attention and ignites an emotional reaction. For the storyteller, nothing really compares to being able to captivate an audience, to thrill them or scare them, to make them fall in love, or to satisfy their need for justice. To be able to make an audience laugh, to make them cry, to share something of yourself that inspires them to be better than they are. That is the power of story. And that is why Steve Jobs, co-founder and former CEO of Apple, once said the most powerful person in the world is the storyteller, because the storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation that is to come. That is the magic of ripple effect. We've built this event around the power of stories and the effect that good stories can have on us and on the people around us. Twice a year for the past 7 years, we've gathered to listen to 39 of our friends and colleagues share stories of courage and perseverance, humility and redemption. We've heard deeply personal stories about crises and calamities and challenges of every kind. I have personally been moved by their tales of tragedies and triumphs, and I've been inspired by the experiences that have helped shape their characters. Some of my favorite stories have been the simple, reassuring messages about savoring our lives, about seeking out the experiences that make life so enjoyable. I have laughed with them, and I have cried with them, and I have been greatly entertained by them. But more importantly, I have been blessed to see the world from their point of view, to climb into their skin, so to speak, and get to know them in marvelous and magnificent ways. As we look back at the past 7 years of Ripple Effect, we invite you to think about the stories that have impacted you and the ripples that you've seen in your life and in the lives of others as a result of these amazing people and their willingness to share their stories. What a fantastic journey it has been. And it is a little amazing to see how far we have evolved in the last 7 years from those early ripple effects. To each one of you who has participated and shared your stories, thank you so much, not just for sharing your story, but for sharing this journey with us. Tonight, we have the honor of adding 3 more incredible presenters to the Ripple Effect legacy. Tonight, you are going to hear stories about making the most of life experiences by being mindful and deliberate in our present, by respecting and appreciating our past, and by thoughtfully designing our future. Each of our presenters has worked really hard to prepare for tonight, and we hope that you find their messages inspiring in ways that might help you and make your experiences a little better. Our first presenter tonight is a true Renaissance man, one who dreams big and enjoys much. Aaron Peterson joined Wavetronics in January of 2019 and serves as a product manager in engineering development. Aaron was born in Cupertino, California, which is in the heart of Silicon Valley, so it was perhaps inevitable that he would end up in a career in technology. He is an accomplished athlete and a gifted musician. He plays the violin, the string bass, the piano, and the organ, and he has enjoyed singing in numerous choirs, including the BYU Men's Chorus and the Mapleton Chorale. He enjoys making music, watching movies, going on walks with his wife, and cheering on his kids at musical performances, sports, and other activities. He says his greatest joy comes from being with his family and watching them grow. Aaron has learned that life's path isn't always clear. And sometimes our current reality can seem very far away from where we hoped it would be. What happens when life doesn't go exactly as planned? Even the haziest path can lead to something extraordinary on our quest for reality. Please welcome Mr. Aaron Peterson.
Growing up, I liked to dream big. Maybe you had the same or similar goals. I wanted to excel at soccer, get good grades, go on a mission for my church, go to BYU, get married, and become a dad. From my limited perspective, life basically stopped there. Most of these goals ended up coming to fruition. I was a decent soccer player. My grades were, well, they were good enough to get into BYU. Eventually. I had the opportunity to serve a church mission, and to my great joy, I met Stacy Belka and married the woman of my dreams. Later that same year, we were blessed with our first child. Maybe not everything turned out exactly the way I imagined, but in most ways, my life's goals were successful. The one area of my life where I really struggled to find my path was my career. When I was a teenager, I decided that my dream job was to be a heart surgeon. I thought that it would be a cool thing to help people in that very unique way. Yes, it would be difficult and require much schooling, but I was ready for the challenge. So, following 2 years at the community college and a church mission, I started my degree at BYU. I was a pre-medical student and declared zoology as my major. After a year of classes, things were not going as planned. My grades were less than stellar. The classes I was taking were not keeping my interest, and I started to realize that I might not achieve my dream job. I remember the day that I was walking around the BYU campus, wondering what I wanted to do with my life. As I strolled past the Tanner building, I noticed a table with a sign-up sheet and someone asking if I wanted to take the prerequisite classes to get into the Marriott School of Management. I was at a crossroads. Should I continue to pursue a major and dream job that seemed very much out of reach? Or should I take some business management classes that I knew nothing about, but that seemed like the only option available? I decided to sign up and proceeded to have my best semester of school ever, all A's and 1 A-. I had found a major that I was good at and that kept my interest. When I graduated from BYU with a degree in business management and an emphasis in marketing, the only jobs available to me were in sales. Based on my very limited view of sales, I vowed that I would not work in sales. So I went to work for a software company doing technical support. I quickly realized, however, that this was not the career path for me. I wanted to do something like become a marketing manager. Those I spoke with said that either extended work experience in marketing, a master's of business administration, or both would likely be required for a job like that. One other thing, I had not forgotten about my dream of being a heart surgeon. I spoke with a physician who told me a couple of things. The first thing he told me was that I should not pursue medicine unless my heart were completely in it. Residency was brutal, and if I wasn't completely committed to the profession, I was not likely to last. The second thing he told me, since my grades weren't great, I should probably do something to increase my chances of getting into medical school, something like getting a master's degree. He recommended getting a degree that took as little time as possible. Based on all of this information, I decided to go back to school. The University of Utah was offering a 1-year, 3-semester MBA program for business undergrads. This was perfect. I would get my MBA and be one step closer to my dream of being a heart surgeon. During school, I met and married Stacy, and we decided to start a family. Those decisions caused me to rethink some of my plans. I was at another crossroads. Was my heart really set on being a heart surgeon? Did I want to put my family through medical school, residency, and all that being a physician entailed? Or should I start the work of supporting our family and pursue a career in business? The more I thought, the more I felt that maybe a career in business was more suited to me and my life goals. Upon graduation from MBA school, I searched for a job that would allow me to support our small family. Remember how I went back to school in part to avoid sales jobs? Well, after some searching, the only thing I could find was a sales job. This seemed very ironic. The very reason that I had gone back to school and the job that I vowed I would never take was the only job available to me now upon graduation. Well, I decided to take the job, and I loved it. This was not the telemarketing type of sales that had caused me to avoid sales at all costs. This was business-to-business consultative selling, where I found out about the customer's company and needs and collaborated with the customer to help fill those needs. Plus, the pay wasn't bad. Life was good. Sales were growing to the point where the company was able to hire another salesperson. Our first daughter was born, and Stacy was expecting our second. We had moved our family into our first home. Then, my company laid off all non-family employees. We had a new home, the upcoming birth of our child, and no way to pay for either one. Thankfully, one of my clients had an opening for a salesperson. So I started another sales job. That job paid the bills for a time, but then the recession hit. The construction industry in which I was working started to slow. I needed more stable employment. An idea came. I could become a seminary teacher. For those not familiar, seminary is a class taken by high school students in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints who want to study the scriptures and learn more about Jesus Christ and his gospel. In Utah and a few other areas of the country, high school students can take seminary as a school class. I had taken the prerequisite classes during my time at BYU to become a full-time seminary teacher. I had been accepted to the next stage of seminary teaching preparation, and I enjoyed teaching, but I had chosen another path at that time. We were at yet another crossroads. Should I get another job in sales to support our small family? Or should we switch careers to one in teaching? At length, we decided to take the plunge and pursue seminary teaching. After a year of teaching part-time, The day finally came where I'd find out if they had a full-time job for me. We anxiously awaited the phone call. The call came. The answer? No job. Stacy was sitting next to me as I spoke on the phone with my supervisor. By the time I hung up the phone and turned to her, she was already in tears. No job meant no medical insurance for our small family. No way to pay off the bills that had amassed over the past several months, and no means of supporting ourselves and our children. While we were still reeling from the shock of being denied a path that we had felt so good about pursuing, a job opportunity presented itself. I could go to work as a technical support specialist at a software company. Now, this was the same type of job that I had when I first graduated from BYU, but I now had a master's degree and 6 years of work experience. Did I want to go back to doing the same thing that had caused me to seek for something better? Surely I could find a better position, one more suited to my education and experience. On the other hand, I was good at technical support, and maybe, just maybe, other opportunities within the company or elsewhere might surface. We were at another crossroads. But we didn't linger there for very long. Bills needed to be paid, and the recommendation of a friend helped us to feel good about accepting the job offer. Within 3 months of starting that job, I was promoted to work with the implementation team as a software trainer. 6 years later, I was asked to be a product owner, managing a suite of several software solutions. The company trusted me, and I felt like I could retire with that company. Then, my good friend, Scott Chandler, approached me. He said that his company had an opening for a product owner. The pay would be the same. The position was the same. Why should I move? The company had shown that they trusted me. I knew that industry well. I remember Stacy asking me why I would even think about leaving. I told her that besides the company itself, one thing caught my attention. I felt that I could grow professionally at the new company in ways that I couldn't at the company where I was working at the time. We were at yet another crossroads. Stay in a place where I felt appreciated and secure, or venture into the unknown, possibly in favor of some professional growth. The more I spoke with Stacy, the better both of us felt about the new company and position. So we again braved the unknown. I made my way at the new company from product owner into a product manager position. The company and position proved to be exactly what I had hoped for. They stretched me professionally, and the company was a place where my family and I could feel at home. Several years into my time at this new company, a realization hit me. This job of product manager was exactly what I had prepared my whole life to do. The sales jobs that I had avoided so adamantly early in my career had allowed me to see into the minds of customers and understand how and why they purchase products. Now, I was managing products, and that understanding of buying patterns helped guide my management decisions. The technical support jobs that I had once felt were beneath me had prepared me for solving customer challenges and also helped me to be a more sympathetic product manager. The master's degree that was once intended as a springboard into a profession in medicine had instead guided me toward an MBA with an emphasis in product management. Without knowing it, the positions and opportunities that had presented themselves throughout my career had prepared me one step at a time for greater and many times unexpected opportunities to come. Some questions for you, fellow career path and life path navigator. What jobs have presented themselves to you but have felt beneath your experience and interests? What opportunities have you taken advantage of and have later paid huge dividends? What decisions have you made in life after standing at your own crossroads and then years later contemplated those decisions, saying to yourself, that was so hard at the time. but that decision made all the difference. Like you, I am so glad that I didn't shy away from positions and opportunities and decisions that were difficult or not exactly what I wanted at the time. Like you, I am so glad that I made those decisions. Those decisions have guided me one step at a time to the happiness that today is my reality. A family of 7, a fulfilling career in business, a life of service in my church, all while being surrounded by many people, including all of you, who I am learning from and whom I admire. So I ask you, what opportunities and decisions await you on your quest for reality? Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. Our next presenter is sincerely one of the sweetest, gentlest souls I have ever met. Talitha John was well on her way to a career in criminal justice when she applied for a part-time summer job at Wavetronics in May 2019. That part-time job became a full-time career, and now she serves as a shipping and warehouse clerk in manufacturing, where she allocates and fulfills orders and helps to manage inventory. Talitha was born and raised in Spanish Fork, Utah. She enjoys cooking, camping and hiking, and traveling. For Talitha, family is everything. And she is very proud of her heritage, which includes Inupiaq, Japanese, and Navajo. She cherishes time that she spends with friends and family, and she is very grateful for the ways her life has been influenced by her family and their culture. How has your family influenced you? What heritage, cultures, and traditions have combined to make you who you are? And what are you doing to respect those traditions and pass them on to the generations that follow you? For Talitha, heritage includes a deep love of family and a respect for the life lessons they teach us. A warm welcome, please, for Miss Talitha John.
What does family mean to you? To me, family is everything. It influences everything you are and everything you believe. Tonight, I'd like to introduce you to the one person that's influenced me the most, my maternal grandmother, my Aunt Edna Cross. Edna was born on October 24th, 1936, in the remote village of Deering, Alaska. She was born to Grace Tippelman and Charlie Okuda, although she was raised by her grandparents, Jack and Ina Tippelman. They taught her the subsistence lifestyle of hunting, fishing, and gathering. Her life was deeply rooted in tradition, resilience, and love. She was lovingly bossy till the very end. She was the heart of our family. She never let anybody leave her home without a warm smile, a hug, a full belly, or a handmade towel. She enjoyed going fishing with her friends at the Clutna Trail Race, playing bingo, and beading at the South Central Foundation for Elders. She filled her days with joy and generosity. In July of 2022, she suffered a stroke, which shifted her life. Unable to live alone, she moved into an assisted living facility in Palmer, Alaska. And then shortly after, she got tired of living there. So she wanted to live in the home of one of her daughters nearby. And a short year later, she moved in with our family, with my mother and I. She moved down to Utah, during which, in the short 8 months I got to take care of her, I got to bond and reconnect with her. And I had learned many life lessons from her. Life lesson number 1, the greatest things in life aren't things, they're moments. And it's the little details that the simplest details that often make the biggest difference. My most memorable moment I shared with my grandmother was our craft times we shared together. She would crochet and I'd make beaded Native American jewelry. Oftentimes when we'd watch TV. She loved watching scary movies. That was her favorite. I remember one day in particular, she was really homesick for Alaska, and we were watching a National Geographic documentary, crafting. It's called National Geographic, The First Alaskans. I remember she's really homesick for Alaska, and while watching the show, when she had heard the elders speak in their native language, she's like, oh, they sound just like the old timers back home. And then she'd proceed to tell me stories from her youth. Growing up, we didn't live close by to her, so I got to cherish these moments with her. While we were watching the show, we'd noticed the different beadwork styles or jewelry that the characters in the show would wear. We'd compare how similar and how different it is to what we'd wear. What we had noticed was the people in the show would wear baleen or ivory, which comes from the aquatic mammals up there in Alaska. And they also use different beadwork styles that's different than what her and I would make. My Aunt Edna was well known for making beadwork, such as small earrings, accessories, hair berets, and necklaces in the particular pattern called the Russian spiral. It looks like a DNA strand. Her hair berets often contained a flower in each pattern, compared to whereas with mine, I like working with a mixture of materials, like modern and traditional, like a blend of both. I work with brighter colors, more modern patterns. One of my favorite pieces to work with is called denatelium. It's a little tusk-shaped shell like this big. It comes from it's like a seashell. Traditionally, it was used as adornment, currency, and is used in ceremony. To me, it adds a nice traditional touch to the pieces I make. While crafting, my Anna would teach me that if things didn't turn out the way you imagined it, you can always take a break and then start again and try again later. She also taught me not to craft if you're feeling down or had any negative emotions. Therefore, it'd put it into your work. Rather, you'd stop, take a break, and try again later when you're feeling better. I appreciated her words of wisdom, and I tried to follow it. Life lesson number 2, be present and always make time for those that you love. My Anna came from a generation where technology wasn't what it was today. But for me, technology is everything. For some odd reason, I'm always attached to my phone, taking pictures or videos of everything. She'd often ask me, why are you taking so many pictures, or why are you taking so many videos? And I'd often explain to her, I take photos and videos of the things that I want to remember. Growing up, I didn't have access to my grandparents. We lived so far apart from each other. We lived in Utah, and they lived in Alaska. So any moment I got to spend with them, I cherished these small little moments. I had honestly wished that I had taken more photos while we were together. Turns out, we were both right. My Aunt Edna came to understand why I was taking pictures and photos of everything. And it has also taught me to be present and in the moment and not replace your special moment with a screen. It's hard not being glued to your phone, and it's hard to be present. But from her perspective, what I learned is all she wanted to do was spend time with those that she loved. She wanted to spend time with her family and friends. She told me that no matter how big or how small your plan is, just do it with that person. That way you don't live with the regret of not doing what you had planned to do. Like Edna had taught, life is short. Don't waste it on a time or thing. Just spend it with the people who matter the most to you. Life lesson number 3, honor your elders' wishes. A huge part of our culture is showing respect to your elders. And my Aunt Edna taught me that a way to show respect to your elders is through gratitude by honoring their wishes. During the short 8 months that she spent time with us, I had honored her wishes by doing my best to advocate for her needs and tend to her needs. Even if it was just letting her eat whatever she wanted, whenever she wanted. Even if it's just an iced coffee from Dutch or Starbucks. But there was a time where I couldn't tend to her needs, and she became really homesick for Alaska. And I realized I couldn't provide that connection for her. And I'd also failed to realize that I couldn't provide that for her. For a moment, I was selfish and thought, no, she should stay in Utah where she could do as she wants and she could eat whatever she wants. But then I looked back and I was like, I'm not honoring her wishes. And that brings us to, we let her go so she could move back to Alaska, back to her friends and family, the people she treasured the most. Which brings me to life lesson number 4, grief and moving on. My Aunt Edna was well acquainted with grief. In 1962, she endured a heartbreak when her first husband, Kenneth, passed away. And then shortly after, with the death of their child, Tonya, who was born prematurely, she too had passed shortly after. And then again in 2002, with the death of her second husband, my grandpa, my tata, Harry Cross. She taught me not to view death as something to be mourned, but rather you celebrate that person's life and celebrate what they had lived for. Death is a part of life, she'd say, and nobody can outrun death forever. On April 30th this year, she passed away in Anchorage, Alaska, surrounded by her friends, surrounded by her close family. I didn't think I'd have to grieve her twice. First when she moved back to Alaska, and twice when she passed away. It was hard, but I tried my best and just looked at the positives in life, like she had taught me. And then in July of this year, after her celebration of life, we took a handful of her cremated remains. We went to the Eklutna Trail Race, her favorite fishing spot. In fact, we found the exact same spot she'd go fishing at, and we gently released her into the water. And then shortly after that, a pair of bald eagles flew ahead of us. It was at that moment I knew I was at the right place at the right time. And I knew that those bald eagles were my grandparents watching over us. And I knew everything was going to be okay. I felt like I was at peace with myself. To know Edna was to feel seen and to be cared for, literally and spiritually. Her voice, her warmth, and her strong presence will always be missed by all that she's touched. What does family mean to you? And what cultures, traditions, and beliefs have been handed down to you, and how are you honoring them? My Anna didn't leave me with physical things, but she left me with traditions, virtues, and values, which have shaped me into who I am today. And that is something which I'll be forever grateful for. She gave me her love. Thank you.
Thank you, Talitha. Our final presenter tonight is Scott Jensen, who did design and consultation work for Wavetronics for several years before joining the company as its full-time in-house architect in 2016. For the past 9 years, he has been instrumental in seeing the design of our campus come to life. And tonight, this amazing space that we get to share with you is a direct result of his talents and his efforts. Scott holds a bachelor's degree in German literature from BYU and a master's of architecture degree from the University of Utah. His love of the creative process of architectural design is matched only by his love for his family, which includes his wife, Carrie, his soulmate, and his eternal tennis partner, and their 5 children. Scott asks us to contemplate what exactly is a life by design. Scott's life experiences have taught him that design isn't a linear experience, but a process of discovery. Often we are faced by a choice between doing what is necessary and doing what is comfortable. And what we choose in those moments is the key to enjoying what he calls a life by design. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Scott Jensen.
So I know by experience that these benches are not good for the full duration of this, and you're probably getting a little bit sore. So I'd like to ask you to just take a minute, stand up, shake your legs, and I want you to enjoy my talk. Okay, thank you. I had a brush with death when I was 3 years old. I grew up on a farm in Twin Falls, Idaho, and horses were a part of our life. I was on a horse before I could even walk. And then when I was about 3 years old, I was on our horse, Nikki, and I couldn't breathe. My parents told me I was turning blue, so they rushed me to the hospital where oxygen brought me back. Atopic asthma was a mystery then, and treatment was very limited. My doctor had no idea what the triggers were, so he started taking me off of everything he could think of that might have been a trigger for my asthma. So I couldn't be outside when they were mowing the lawn. I couldn't be around our pets. I couldn't drink milk. I couldn't eat chocolate. And I couldn't drink chocolate milk. So they gave me things like Melba toast and soy milk. Things that I cannot stand to this day. So a federal program when I was in grade school gave milk to all the kids. So once a day the teacher would give out milk, and my mom had told the teacher that I couldn't have milk. So I'd sit there watching my friends drink the milk, just jealous of them drinking the milk. And it prompted me to do something that I don't do very often. I lied. I went to the teacher and I said, my mom said I could have milk today. So she gave me milk. It worked. So I kept doing that. And it was great until there was a parent-teacher conference. And my mom came home and grounded me for a significant part of my young life. But then she said, it looks like you're not allergic to milk, are you? Score. So that is the only time in my life that I can think of that lying actually worked out for me. Because now I could drink milk, I could eat chocolate, and I could drink chocolate milk. It did turn out that I was severely allergic to horse dander. And I couldn't ride the horse. That ended my horseback riding days, and my family, when they would ride the horse, they would have to change their clothes in the garage before they could come into the house. They'd put their clothes right in the washing machine, and then they had to do that before they could even sit on the furniture. Worse still, my allergy kept me from being able to ride horses in the Sawtooth Mountains with my dad. The Sawtooth Mountains were our favorite family destination. I loved the smell of the pine. I loved the sound of the streams. I loved the blueberry-like fragrance of the grouse whortleberries. And I was going to be a forest ranger. I wanted to spend my day doing forest ranger stuff, and then at night go home to a cozy cabin. And that was the life that I dreamed would be just the perfect life for me. Then my dad broke the news. You realize if you are a forest ranger in the Sawtooth National Forest, you have to ride a horse. It's a primitive area. They don't let any motor vehicles in there. So I couldn't be a forest ranger, so that I had to figure out something else. So my parents were building a dining room on the old farmhouse, and I got a chance to help Mr. Carpenter pound nails in the floor. And yes, his name really was Mr. Carpenter. So I was pounding the nails in the floor, and my mom came home and she saw me doing that, and she said, "What are you doing?" "I'm pounding nails in the floor and I want to be a carpenter." And she said, "Well, what about an architect?" And I was 8 years old, Twin Falls, Idaho. I'd never heard of an architect. So what's an architect? And she said, "He's the guy that draws the plans that shows the carpenter where to pound the nails." And I thought for a minute. I said, "No, I want to be the guy that pounds the nails." So after 3 hours on my hands and knees pounding nails, architecture became more interesting to me. So I was born with a hereditary gap between my front teeth. And my parents said there are a lot of people in the world, in the movie industry and very famous people, who have gaps in their front teeth. But my friends didn't have gaps, and I didn't want to have a gap, and so I wanted to get it fixed. So they were able to get me braces on my 2 front teeth that pulled my teeth together. It was painful, and I would like to think it was worth it. But when it came time to learn a musical instrument, I wanted to learn the trumpet. So I found, though, when I pushed the trumpet mouthpiece against my lips, it would cut my inner lip because they were sharp. So I couldn't play the trumpet. And then the wind ensemble came to our high school, or to our grade school, and I looked at the clarinet section. I thought, that looks really cool. These long black things with all the silver keys and the intricate fingering, that looked like a lot of fun. So a friend of mine and I decided we were going to learn the clarinet. So we started out, and I worked really, really hard, and I got to be pretty good at the clarinet. And my braces were able to come off. Life was good. I had a nice smile, and I could play the clarinet. And then my face met the windshield of a snowmobile. Broke one of my front teeth right off. It's somewhere in the snow in southern Idaho. So I was frustrated because a clarinet embouchure requires 2 front teeth to be able to play it correctly, and I only had 1 now. My band teacher, Mr. Ratcliffe, he said, "There's a guy I know about. His name is Louis Maggio." And Louis Maggio in the early 20th century was in an accident and broke all of his front teeth out and cut his lip so bad that he could not play the trumpet anymore. Everybody figured his career was over. But after he got his teeth fixed, he started trying to retrain his lip by starting to blow at the edge of his mouth and work forward to the middle, and then he started the other side and worked to the middle. And he was able to return to the full skill that he had before, was able to have his chair in the orchestra, and he had a 5-octave trumpet range, which at that time was unheard of. So, encouraged by this, I started focusing on learning how to play with 1 tooth. I worked on my muscles around my mouth, and I worked really, really hard, and I got to the point where I was able to achieve being the first chair in the best high school, in one of the 3 best high school orchestras in the Pacific Northwest. So my band teacher at the time was Mr. Slaughter. And Mr. Slaughter was leading us in one of our rehearsals one day, and somebody in the band made a really bad mistake. The whole section just fell apart. So he stops mid-measure, says, just gets after them. You've got to practice, you've got to do this, you've got to do this, you can do it. And one of the kids was just almost in tears. And he said, "Mr. Slaughter, we're doing the best we can." And Mr. Slaughter looked at him in the eyes and said, "I don't want your best, because your best isn't good enough. I want what's necessary." So when I tell that story, a lot of people think Mr. Slaughter was a mean teacher. And he was picking on those little kids, those poor kids. But it made me realize that what I thought was my best was only what I was comfortable doing. It was like going up a staircase and getting to a landing on a staircase and saying, "I'm done." You're comfortable there, but there's another flight. There's so much more to do. So I took private clarinet lessons in college, and I was working really hard. I was getting pretty good. And then my teacher said, in order to be elite, you have to have elite articulation, and your tongue needs to be a racehorse. So I worked long and hard, months and months, practicing, and he was coaching me and telling me what I needed to do. And finally, after months and months of practice, he said, your tongue is a cow. So I could play the clarinet at an elite level in many aspects, but I could never get to the articulation level that I needed to do basically master performing. So I couldn't do that. And I didn't really want to teach music, so I turned my attention to the frozen music of architecture. And it had been on my mind ever since my mom had talked about it when I was pounding nails. And I really got into it, and that became my new passion. So I had the opportunity to work on a project which was the redesign of the Hotel Utah. The Hotel Utah had been known as Salt Lake City's classy lady. It was where all of the really big events happened. That's where they would host dignitaries from around the country and from around the world. But after decades as being known as the place in Salt Lake City, it began to lose relevance. So in the early 1970s, they did a significant remodel where they built a big ballroom, and then they doubled the rooms in the hotel. And that was good for another 15 to 20 years. But eventually modern facilities took over its place in the market, and it was struggling to survive. So restoring it would be a major expense. So the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints decided that they needed a more suitable space near the Temple Square to be able to host visitors to Salt Lake City. So they decided to repurpose the building. So I was on the design team, and as the design team, we saw potential in different areas of the building. The ground floor and the mezzanine were to be public spaces for the visitors to Temple Square. The second through the 9th floor were to be offices and reception areas, things like that. And then the 10th floor was going to be restaurants. The original Lafayette Ballroom was transformed into an amazing chapel for adult congregations. So we went up into the old band stage and went through that and figured it would be a great location for an organ loft. And then we also put in a rostrum and several other things that made it just a beautiful place of worship. And then we also wanted to have a large format movie screen. The ballroom was a place for that, but it was not high enough for an IMAX screen. We decided that the IMAX presentation was going to be the right one for the theater. So we took out a part of the floor and extended the room down into the parking garage below. But our best was still not good enough for an IMAX screen because it was still too short for the IMAX. So we got with the engineers at IMAX, and we decided with them that we would reformat the 70 millimeter film so that we could have an image that was shorter but longer that would fit into the space. So we also collaborated with the director of the first film, Keith Merrill, to make sure that he understood the ramifications of this different format, and he was able to film for that format. So at every step in this project, we discovered that what was considered to be our best was not good enough for the building to be able to reach its potential. We had to do what was necessary to transform the Hotel Utah into the Joseph Smith Memorial Building, giving it a new life and new relevance going forward into the future. So designing your life, like doing a building project, is not a linear process. It's a process of discovery. As in designing anything beautiful and worthwhile, you find your passion. And then you start to discover what fills that passion out. John Lennon made the phrase popular that life is what happens when you're busy making other plans. In my life, I've tried to remain true to my life's passion, which is to have a beautiful and worthwhile life and loved ones to share it with. I've had to adjust my path along the way because of personal limitations, because of other things that might have changed in the world. And those adjustments, I'm confident, are going to continue through the rest of my life. But I enjoy and I embrace that experience. When hand drafting became obsolete, I learned CAD. When building models was not satisfactory for clients and 3D software came in, I learned how to do that to enable people to get into the building and explore it from the inside. So at each step in my life, what I thought was my best turned out to be only what I was comfortable with. It was a landing on the stairway of life. When I pushed myself to the next level and did what needed to be done, I found relevance and I found fulfillment. The world doesn't wait for us. Our careers evolve, the roles in our family shift, and the tools that we rely on become obsolete. Yet within each of us is the capacity to learn something new, to discover a new path when the road in front of us disappears, to find meaning when what we thought was just failure. To excel at work and in our relationships, or in the legacy that we leave behind, we have to do more than our best. We need to do what is necessary and live a life by design, embracing the things that we value, regardless of the changes around us. As James Taylor said in a song, the secret of life is enjoying the passage of time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Scott. And thank you. You've been an incredible audience, and your presence here tonight has helped make it a very special experience. As you can see, a lot of effort has gone into this event, and we invite you to join us as we say thank you to the powerhouse behind Ripple Effect, Marcy Mahana. We would also like to thank the numerous teams and departments that are critical for Ripple Effect's success, including the Wavetronics Hobble Creek Living Team, our facilities team, and the Jupiter Culinary team. Thank you also to our Wavetronics Experience Design team, our audio and video team, and Bonimus for creative design. And an enthusiastic thank you to our presenters. Would the three of you please join me? Ripple Effect is nothing without great presenters, and we would like to present Talitha, Aaron, and Scott with a small token of our appreciation. Thank you again for sharing your stories with us. And thanks again to you. We invite you to stay and enjoy some of our presenters' favorite foods and the special experiences that have been designed around their presentations, as well as an opportunity to interact directly with each of our presenters. And we invite you to join us here again for the next Ripple Effect in April 2026. Until then, do something disruptively good for someone and have a great evening.